Welcome back, John Macdonald from ProScot here. Finally, we've made it to PS number 19. This is the one now where we can pull all the theory together before we start to move on to PS 20, which is going to be the practical on-board sessions where I actually start proving all the theory and pulling all this together. But before we can do that, we're going to have to pull all that theory together now with a final debrief. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Finally, we can pull all the theory together now in PS 19. I'm going to work here on the assumption that you've seen PS 1 to PS 18. So, debrief then. First of all, we talked about you and your bike being right. You having a good attitude, good mental place, sharp and alert, and your bike being fully maintained. Then we looked at the system of motorcycle control. We called that steps 2 to 6, information, position, speed, gear and acceleration. And then that gave out an output with excellent awareness and anticipation, and the system looked back again. Then we looked at bike control, particularly body positioning, steering, lean angles, tyre grip, throttle control. We looked at gears, clutch control and brakes as well. We looked at obviously bends, that's what this is all about, and we talked about when you're out on the road how you have to gather information, and you're scanning to gather that information. If I just look over the page here, I'll show you what I meant by that again if you remember. We said that when you're scanning, looking as far as the eye can see into the distance and everything in between, and the foreground, the midground, the distance, out, and all areas continually scanning out to the sides as well and behind you. A full 360 degree picture gathering all that information. And the reason we said that of course, is that if you're not scanning and you're not gathering the information, then you're going to miss a lot of stuff. We're looking for the man-made, the natural features, and with a whole section explaining what we meant by man-made and natural features. We're then looking at the road markings, the road surface itself, the camber, the slope, the elevation. I was showing you my technique for assessing bend severity and how we use the vanish point and limit point technique. If you remember, I said that was a technique that allows us to know when to slow approaching a bend, when to maintain the speed through the bend, or have the bike under drive, under load but not under acceleration, just maintain the speed through, and then to know when to go. So this is you now slowing on approach, shifting weight more towards the front on the approach, balancing the bike through the corner, and then as you accelerate out the corner, shifting the weight towards the rear. We also said that if you're going around the bend and the limit point starts to come back to meet you, that's when you should be then thinking about obviously slowing back down because your vision's reducing. So that limit point was an excellent technique, like a crystal ball, for telling you when to slow, when to maintain, when to go, and when to consider slowing. We said that when you're scanning and gathering the information for the information phase, we said that was absolutely crucial, if you remember, because we said that the information that you're feeding in to your riding plan, the output of your riding plan is only going to be as good as the information that you take in. And when we talked about looking for the information, we talked about the three main groups of hazards that the information's in. We talked about the fixed physical features, moving developing hazards, and environmental conditions. Going back up to the fixed physical features, these were things like the man-made natural features that we showed you how to look out for, things like junctions, crossroads, entrance-exit points. You could of course come across roundabouts still on country roads and that as well, of course, and traffic lights. So any form of physical feature, they're usually identified by the road signs or the road markings themselves, or by the actions of other drivers or other motorists or other road users, or indeed just through line of sight. So very important that you're looking out for the physical features. Of course, the physical feature in itself can be dangerous enough, but when you add in moving, developing hazards as well, and we know that's anything, motorists, lorry drivers, bus drivers, car drivers, motorcyclists, cyclists, pedestrians, people out on horses, etc. So any sort of moving, developing hazard. You could come around a bend and suddenly find a cow or a sheep in the middle of the road, for example. So any moving, developing hazards. We also talked about the environmental conditions, the road surface, and the weather conditions themselves. I talked a little bit, mostly about the rain. I mean, as riders we tend not to go out in snow and ice, but you might be an all-round year commuter, in which case you find yourself riding through autumn and things like that, so the wet leaves on the road. So any sort of environmental condition, weather condition that's going to affect you and that can affect the surface. As I said, the idea here is just to give you an overview on this one. We've talked about the specifics on all the other video clips. I mentioned that I was going to say a little bit more about wet weather riding. I'll say it just now. I'm going to keep it very simple. Everything that you do that I've been teaching you so far is enhanced even more for wet weather riding. Your scanning, your observations, your assessment of hazards and road surfaces, even more important, because you're now on a surface where you can't just suddenly decide to brake hard. You can't just suddenly flip the bike from side to side and lean to get out of trouble or accelerate out of trouble. You're limited by the grip levels that are available. So in the wet weather riding, I basically slow everything down. It's as simple as that. Now, I've been multiple Scottish champion racing motorcycles. I've raced in the wet, had many successes in the wet. I'm probably known as a wet weather rider just as much as anything else. But I had good tyres on a good surface. When I'm on the road, I don't know what that surface is like underneath me. And my tyres have got limitations, so you won't get me being a hero out on the roads, especially on things like roundabouts where the surfaces can be very worn, and I talked a lot about surface issues. So in the wet, basically slow everything down. Brake more gentle, less pressures if you have to brake earlier, reduce the speed down more, go into the bend slower, still drive it through the bend, that's important, don't go through with a closed throttle load in the front end, it'll feel horrible. So in slow, maintain it through, less speed, less lean angle, wait till you're out and more upright before you smoothly accelerate. So in other words, just smooth everything down and don't try to be a hero in the wet. I see a lot of people taking chances in the wet. There can be real slippy bits. I make up the time when it's safe to make it up. I don't position for vision, I position for maximum grip, so take it easy in the wet. Now, by looking for these hazards, you're going to be able to identify the hazards. That's going to develop good hazard perception, which means the ability to identify and then assess the hazard, decide the level of danger that hazard's presenting with you, and then by deciding you can begin to sort of prioritise your hazards and decide the level of danger that's been presented to you, and from that develop the action plan. Now, action plan, of course, goes to our IPSGA, which I'm going to flip over the page here. So the action plan, and it's going to develop good awareness and anticipation. So let's look at that now and I'll pull it all together. So remember we talked about you and your bike? There you go. There's the first part of my system. There was a system in motorcycle control, information, position, speed, gear, acceleration 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We went through the whole lot there. And then we said if you're using the system correctly, you're going to develop a good awareness and anticipation, which was going to develop what we called good motorcycle control, based on the system of motorcycle riding, the police's handbook. So that was good roadcraft. It's going to develop good roadcraft. So you and your bike, through good information, good observation, you're going to develop good planning, the right speed, the right position. Remember the green zones, and that's going to then carry out the right action because you've taken in the right information, you've processed it all correctly, in the right position, right speed, correct gear before you get to the hazard, so you've taken the right action, and that's going to develop good awareness and anticipation. Remember we said that loops back, so that cycle is continuously going on all the time. Now, finally down to here, PS1 and 2 is where we gave you an overview of this course now that I was going to cover on lockdown. Remember, I am on lockdown as well, so I'm limited to what I can do, that's why I've been sticking to the 2 road. 3 and 4, I did some on-board shots, wasn't very technically very good at that time, still not particularly technically good, but I am getting a bit better. Soon going to have a mic so that I can actually video me on the bike, actually talking to you, which is going to happen from here, PS20 onwards. PS, of course, is ProScot video, ProScot 3.4. So I did an on-board one, film from behind. PS5 introduced the 7 steps that we talked about there earlier. PS6, we broke down the system of motorcycle control and explained my 7 steps. In PS7 we explained the information phase, in PS8 the position phase, then the speed phase, and then we combined gears and acceleration together. Talked a bit about bike control from PS11, we looked at the importance of body positioning. With PS12 we covered counter steer, lean angles, tyre grip trade-off. PS13 we covered throttle control, gears and the use of the clutch. PS14 the limit point, the vanishing point, the theory behind it. PS15 positioning for bends and series bends linking, making sure the exit of one bend formed the entrance to the next. PS16 the scanning techniques and how to gather the information. PS17 we looked at the limit point, vanishing point and a practical demonstration of it, putting the theory into practice. In PS18 we looked specifically at road signs and road markings, road surface, camber, slope and elevation. In PS19 we were putting all that theory together, which is what we're doing right now, PS19, pulling it all together. So if you've looked at 1 to 18, then that will completely make sense what I've just gone through, PS1 to 18, all of that. So I've now covered all the theory, all right, and that's the theory all covered now. Sessions from now on is going to be out on the road. Remember, I'm on lockdown, so I'm limited to what I can do here. I'm sticking just to Dr. Tour Road, which is where I live. It's a great little road anyway. And I'm going to now be on board now, and we're going to be doing voiceover and explaining and putting all that theory into practice. After that, what I'm thinking about doing when the lockdown ends is actually riding some roads that people love and explaining how I'm riding those roads and what I'm seeing and what I'm doing. So little kind of training videos that you might ride on yourself, and then you can even put requests in and tell me what roads you'd like me to ride and talk about. So without further ado, I'm going to do what everybody else says at the end of the YouTube video, which is, if you've liked my video, could you please like it, subscribe, and I think it's hit the bell. There you go, I'm learning. Thank you very much. John Macdonald over and out till PS20. Thank you.